URC run number 8, folks. Second all-Irish game of the weekend for me. Leinster taking on Connacht this time after I watched Ulster take on Munster yesterday. And I was pretty excited to see how this one would go once I saw the lineups, because I figured Connacht away at Leinster is probably going to be a tough one. But when I saw Leinster's lineup, it was a bit experimental, and Connacht's lineup looked pretty good. First half with the wind at their backs, though, Leinster pretty good. 2 tries. Connacht come back in the second with 2 tries of their own. The game was in the balance for a long period, but yeah, a couple of Leinster penalties get this one done. We'll go through some of the key events and the stats, and you guys can let us know your thoughts on how this one was. Anyone wondering why I watched all the Irish games this weekend? It's largely because of the kickoff times. 6:30 in the morning. This is the latest kickoff time in the URC on the Saturday game, so Sunday morning for me. 6:30 in the morning, as I mentioned, so that's not bad. Some of the South African games were like 2 in the morning. I think the Italian game was 2 in the morning, so yeah, less pleasant. 6:30 is nice. Bit of breakfast, bit of Leinster up against Connacht. Leinster was getting all the running early. They had the win at their backs. The scrum was getting penalties. Like Bandiaki won a turnover early on to keep Connacht having not conceded any points, but they just couldn't get out of their own half. It was rough. There was a TMO stoppage for Josh Ioane, potentially putting a high hit on McCarthy, but there wasn't a lot in it. And the ref, I think despite the kind of protestations of the TMO, only gave a penalty for that one, but a lot of pressure. Leinster were mauling it, they were getting stopped, they got advantage, they went again, they line up not straight. So lots of pressure for Leinster, but no points to show for it early. It took until the 20th minute for Andrew Osborne to go over. And I was pleased to see a little bit of deception, because having watched the Ulster against Munster game yesterday, there was a lot of Ulster like, let's just maul it. Let's just maul it every single time. Whereas Leinster in this one, they had gone for a few mauls prior. This one, they looked to be setting for the maul, but shifted it wide to the backs. The back line was able to cut through Connacht's defence maybe a little bit too easily from a Connacht point of view, but really well worked for Leinster, and 7 points to 0. Jack Conan went off injured at that point, and both sides, unfortunately, did lose a fair few players to injury in this one. And Connacht, just couldn't keep any ball. Anytime they did get it, it wasn't for kind of multiple phases, and a lot of the time it wasn't in their own half. Shane Jennings, for Connacht, the winger, then also got himself yellow carded for basically stepping into a tackle after the Leinster guy had already kicked it. So not the kind of smartest play, especially when Leinster are then able to immediately punish during the yellow card. It must be the worst feeling for him. Sitting on the sidelines, having just been sent off, to see his team immediately score. The maul got shown a shove backwards by the Connacht defence, but again, they got it to the back line. And Tector was able to go through. Nice little Geordie Barrett try assist. So, 14 points to 0. So, all looking pretty comfortable for Leinster by this point, especially how long they've been camped down in Connacht's half. Josh Ioane went off with a knock to his head. He didn't come back on. Deegan, who'd come on for Conan, also went off. I don't think he came back on either. So, that's a little bit troubling. But hopefully all these guys come back fighting fit sooner rather than later. But, first half, Connacht couldn't get anything going. But they only conceded the 1 try during the yellow, which is at least kind of a small mercy. Like, they only had 35% territory. Leinster dominant that first half, 65%. They had a couple of line breaks to Connacht's 1. Penalty count was also 9-5 against Connacht at halftime. 9 penalties. Like, teams like to keep it below 10 for an entire game. So 9 in one half is a lot. But things did get better for them in the second half, especially I think with a bit of the wind at their back. Like, Connacht did lose the ball to start the second half. Offside meant Leinster were able to kick a 3. So it was a 17-0 lead. But then Connacht went and scored themselves 12 unanswered points to make it game on. There was a little bit of handbags in the build-up. You're asking yourself, hey, isn't Archie Snyman involved in this game? Yes. Is Archie Snyman involved in the handbags? Yes. I don't know that it was his fault. There was a little bit of hands in your face, pushing and shoving. Nothing really doing. I think the ref handled it pretty well. Like, sometimes refs kind of push the nuclear option for this one and want to investigate it too much. It's one of those ones where the guys just need a bit of a settling down. And I think they largely did. I think the Connacht guys were frustrated, especially because they'd had a attacking line-out lost not too long before. So, yeah, referee gets a warning, gives a warning, not gets a warning, gives a warning and kind of settles everything down. Connacht kept pushing, though, and it was pleasing because, as I said, 17 points to 0 down, you're away from home. Frustrated, but they got the maul going. The maul was just short of the Leinster line, but Leinster, whilst keeping Connacht scoreless, were giving away penalties. And it got to the point where there were so many of them. Ref gives the Leinster lads a warning. Any more, you guys will be getting a card. Leinster coaches pulled the trigger and brought on a bunch of subs. However, it didn't matter because Lee Barrett, who is one of those subs, he ends up getting himself the yellow card for the team after another penalty conceded. And yeah, interestingly, Connacht go for the 5-metre tap, which I thought they would surely go for the line out and try to maul it with Leinster being down a forward, but I guess 5-metre tap, it's also pretty similar. Down a forward, they were able to get it. Only 3 phases. Dowling, the sub, I think first touch of him for his game, he's able to come on and get himself a try. So a missed conversion. Remember, Josh Ioane's off the field. So, yeah, they're having to get, was it Ford doing the kicks? Yeah, not the usual goal kick of a Connacht, but yeah, 17-5. They are at least on the board, and they got a second during the yellow card not too long later. Archie with a big carry down the left wing. I think he got stopped by Geordie Barrett because Geordie Barrett was doing a bit of the kind of everywhere thing. But yeah, Ross Byrne had kind of gone for an intercept. He missed it. So a little bit of a space for Archie to get himself into some space, and then with the play all shifted left, and Leinster's defence a bit compacted, they shifted it right, and that man Jennings, who'd got the yellow card in the first half for Connacht, was able to get himself on the board. So good turnaround from him, 12 points to 17. That's 12 unanswered points for Connacht. And Jennings did the smart thing to run it round back under the post, so it was an easy conversion. So that's proper game on. Proper game on. Like, next score is a big one. If it's Connacht, goodness me, it could be real cat amongst the pigeons. If it's Leinster, it's probably game over. They did go close to Connacht's line. In reply, not too long later, I guess a bit of shell shock shaken off. They were able to put Connacht back under a bit of pressure for the first time in a wee while, but they soft kind of penalty for a neck roll on a clean out gave Connacht kind of an easy exit. Kian Prendergast had a great try-saving tackle on Barron, which was, you know, a cracking one for Connacht, but they were under some pressure. But then Jimmy O'Brien took out Mac Hansen in the air not too long later, which meant second yellow card for Leinster, which is proper potential trouble. Can Connacht score 15 against 14 with 5 minutes to play? They had a nice break with Mac Hansen, who was playing really well, and that man Jennings again, but Jennings got smoked by Geordie Barrett. It was a big defensive play. And then a couple of passes later, the pass to Murray goes forward for Connacht. That's probably the one that needed to go. Like, that phase of play, they needed to score, but they couldn't get it done. And yeah, Leinster showed some ambition from the resulting knock-on. Scrum time, they run it pretty much out their own 22, which was unexpected. I'm sure Connacht were expecting the kick. But yeah, Geordie Barrett to Tector. Good attack and play. Connacht conceded penalty. Leinster slot it. So it's a 20 points to 12 game. 8 points is going to be too much with no time left on the clock. They do the restart, but nothing doing. Geordie Barrett is able to kick it out. So in the end, it's a solid win for Leinster, given how well, how much they changed up their lineup for this one. But yeah, 2 tries, 17 points to 0 lead. They wouldn't have expected to be kind of hanging on, I guess, towards the end. But good on Connacht for keeping on cracking. It's unfortunate for them. They get nothing out of this game, not even a losing bonus point. Territory finishes 55-45, so Connacht did better in those terms in the second half once they had a bit of the wind. They had more ball, 59%. They had more line breaks, 7-2. But the penalty count was pretty horrendously high, 15-14. Leinster conceded a lot of penalties in that second half, 2 yellow cards to 1. Leinster's line-out also had a few issues, 12 from 16. Connacht was a lot more stable with 18 from 20. But yeah, individuals. Mac Hansen still looks sharp, 54 metres, beats 8 defenders, gets a couple of clean breaks. Geordie Barrett gets man of the match, involved in one of the tries. And yeah, a couple of big defensive reads, 35 metres from him. Andrew Osborne, 3 defenders beaten, also gets himself a try. Scott Penny, 15 tackles. This guy, Alex Soroka, 3 turnovers, 1 from him. So not bad. Not bad overall. There was also an interesting play where Cordero was fielding a Leinster kick through, not like a high ball. But he knew he was going to get smoked by, what's that? young winger's name? King. So he jumped to take the ball, and King basically clattered into him in the air. So I guess he gets pinged for tackling him in the air. But guys don't usually jump for that kind of ball. It was kind of a smart way. You know you're about to get smoked on next to your own sideline and likely pushed into touch. So it's likely going to be Leinster ball. So Cordero, by jumping, got himself a bit of a free penalty. I don't know. I've seen that kind of ruled in some ways before, where it's like you don't jump into the tackle like that. But I guess he hadn't got the ball yet. It's an interesting one. It was an interesting tactic. But, Leinster away to Munster next week. That should be an interesting one in the festive season. Connacht home to Ulster as the kind of rivalry games continue. I'm going to sit down now that the sun is up and catch up on a few of the other URC games for the round. But you guys let us know your thoughts on Leinster up against Connacht. What did you think of the Leinster youngsters? Pretty rough that Connacht don't get a losing bonus point, but hey, they'll certainly take a few positives from it as well. You guys take care of yourselves. Enjoy the festive season. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.